Hello, welcome to my backyard. I was gonna point, well, I guess I can point here. Here, right above my finger, is the first bird feeder. Maybe the second one. I guess we got both at the same time. That's one, and then the other one is here. I know they kind of blend, but see the little, we have two that way also. And so if you see any birds flying around, that's what they're doing. They're eating. I have to leave soon, so this might be kind of shortish, but I'm tired of doing them like super late at night. So we're on book the third. It's called Gore, The Tale of MIGGISH. Here we go. I hope my neighbors don't hear me. Chapter 24, A Handful of Cigarettes, a Red Tablecloth, and a Hen. Again, reader, we must go backward before we can go forward. With that said, here begins a short history of the life and times of MIGGISH, a girl born into this world many years before the mouse Despereaux and the rat Chiaroscuro, a girl born far from the castle, a girl named for her father's favorite prize-winning pig. MIGGISH was 6 years old when her mother, holding on to Meg's hand and staring directly into Meg's eyes, died. "Ma," said Meg, "Ma, couldn't you stay here with me?" "Oh," said her mother, "who is that? Who is that holding my hand?" "It's me, Ma, MIGGISH." "Ah, child, let me go." "But I want you to stay here," said Meg, wiping first at her runny nose and then at her runny eyes. "You want," said her mother. "Yes," said Meg, "I want." "Ah, child, what does it matter what you are wanting?" said her mother. She squeezed Meg's hand once, twice, and then she died, leaving Meg alone with her father, who, on a market day in spring, soon after his wife's death, sold his daughter into service for a handful of cigarettes, a red tablecloth, and a hen. "Papa," said Meg, when her father was walking away from her with the hen in his arms, a cigarette in his mouth, and the red tablecloth draped across his shoulders like a cape. "Go on, Meg," he said. "You belong to that man now." "But I don't want to, Papa," she said. "I want to go with you." She took hold of the red tablecloth and tugged on it. "Lord, child," her father said, "and who is asking you what you want? Go on now." He untangled her fingers from the cloth and turned her in the direction of the man who had bought her. Meg watched her father walk away, the red tablecloth billowing out behind him. He left his daughter, and, reader, as you already know, he did not look back, not even once. Can you imagine it? Can you imagine your father selling you for a tablecloth, a hen, and a handful of cigarettes? Close your eyes, please, and consider it for just a moment. Done? I hope that the hair on the back of your neck stood up as you thought of Meg's fate and how it would be if it were your own. Poor Meg, what will become of her? You must, frightened though you may be, read on and see for yourself. Reader, it is your duty. Chapter 25, A Vicious Circle. MIGGISH called the man who purchased her uncle, as he said she must. And also, as he said she must, Meg tended to Uncle's sheep and cooked Uncle's food and scrubbed Uncle's kettle. She did all of this without a word of thanks or praise from the man himself. Another unfortunate fact of life with Uncle was that he very much liked giving Meg what he referred to as a good clout to the ear. In fairness to Uncle, it must be reported that he did always inquire whether or not Meg was interested in receiving the clout. Their daily exchanges went something like this. "Uncle, I thought I told you to clean the kettle." Meg, "I cleaned it, Uncle. I cleaned it good." Uncle, "Ah, it's filthy. You'll have to be punished, won't ye?" Meg, "Gore, Uncle, I cleaned the kettle." Uncle, "Are ye saying that I'm a liar, girl?" Meg, "No, Uncle." Uncle, "Do ye want a good clout to the ear, then?" Meg, "No, thank you, Uncle, I don't." Alas, Uncle seemed to be as entirely unconcerned with what Meg wanted as her mother and father had been. The discussed clout to the ear was always delivered, I am afraid, with a great deal of enthusiasm on Uncle's part, and received with absolutely no enthusiasm at all on the part of Meg. These clouts were alarmingly frequent, and Uncle was scrupulously fair in paying attention to both the right and left side of MIGGISH, so it was that after time the young Meg's ears came to resemble not so much ears as pieces of cauliflower stuck to the side of her head, and they became about as useful to her as pieces of cauliflower. That is to say, they all but ceased their functioning as ears. Words for Meg lost their sharp edges, and then they lost their edges altogether and became blurry, blankety things that she had a great deal of trouble making any sense out of at all. The less Meg heard, the less she understood. The less she understood, the more she did things wrong, and the more things she did wrong, the more clouts to the ear she received, and the less she heard. This is what is known as a vicious cycle, and MIGGISH was right in the center of it, which is not, reader, where anybody would want to be. But then, as you know, what MIGGISH wanted had never been of much concern to anyone. Is that bothering you guys? Tell me and I won't come out here again if all the noise is distracting. I know some of you guys say that you get distracted easily. And I feel like that's kind of counterintuitive. There's an animal that I'm afraid of, and a lot of them, because it's literally woods. And welcome to Georgia. This is what our yards look like. But there's an animal out here that I'm afraid of. So when I hear like rustling or whatever, I'm always like, what was that? Okay, I'll do like a couple more. But if this is a problem, just tell me and I won't do this again. I'm just out here because I don't know. The dishwasher was going in there, but it stopped. But I came out here anyway. I don't know. Okay, I guess because it's daytime. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay, chapter 26, Royalty. When Mig turned 7 years old, there was no cake, no celebration, no singing, no present, no acknowledgement of her birthday at all, other than Mig saying, "Uncle, today I am 7 years old." And Uncle saying in return, "Did I ask ye how old you were today? Get out of my face before I give ye a good clap to the ear." I don't want the animal to show up. Ew, that's the animal making the noise. Okay, bye! Okay, so let's try that again. Sorry for running away. I don't like them, and I super don't like them when they make noise, so that was no fun. Okay. A few hours after receiving her birthday clout to the ear, Mig was out in the field with Uncle's sheep when she saw something glittering and glowing on the horizon. She thought for a moment that it was the sun, but she turned and saw that the sun was in the west where it should be, sinking to join the earth. This thing that shone so brightly was something else. Mig stood in the field and shaded her eyes with her left hand and watched the brilliant light draw closer and closer and closer until it revealed itself to be King Philip and his Queen Rosemary and their daughter, the young Princess P. The royal family was surrounded by knights in shining armor and horses in shining armor, and atop each member of the royal family's head there was a golden crown, and they were all, the king and the queen and the princess, dressed in robes decorated with jewels and sequins that glittered and glowed and captured the light of the setting sun and reflected it back. "Gore," breathed Meg. The Princess P was riding on a white horse that picked up its legs very high and set them down very daintily. The pig saw Meg standing and staring, and she raised a hand to her. "Hello," the Princess P called out merrily. "Hello," and she waved her hand again. Meg did not wave back. Instead, she stood and watched. Here's the picture. Can you see it? Meg. Her ears look okay. Oh yes, I thought that was a period, but it's a comma. Instead, she stood and watched, open-mouthed, as the perfect, beautiful family passed by her. "Papa," called the princess to the king, "what is wrong with the girl? She will not wave at me." "Never mind," said the king. "It is no consequence, my dear." "But I am a princess, and I waved to her. She should wave back." Meg, for her part, continued to stare. Looking at the royal family had awakened some deep and slumbering need in her. It was as if a small candle had been lit in her interior, sparked to life by the brilliance of the king and the queen and the princess. For the first time in her life, reader, Meg hoped. And hope is like love, a ridiculous, wonderful, powerful thing. Meg tried to name this strange emotion. She put a hand up to touch one of her aching ears, and she realized that the feeling she was experiencing, the hope blooming inside of her, felt exactly the opposite of a good clout. She smiled and took her hand away from her ear. She waved to the princess. "Today is my birthday," Meg called out. But the king and the queen and the princess were by now too far away to hear her. "Today," shouted Meg, "I am 7 years old." Chapter 27, A Wish. That night, in the small, dark hut that she shared with Uncle and the sheep, Meg tried to speak of what she had seen. "Uncle," she said, I saw some human stars today." "How's that?" "I saw them all glittering and glowing, and there was a little princess wearing her own crown and riding on a little white tippy-toed horse." "What are you going on about?" said Uncle. "I saw a king and a queen and an itty-bitty princess," shouted Meg. "So," shouted Uncle back, "I would like—" Meg said shyly, "I wish to be one of them princesses." "Har," laughed Uncle, "har. An ugly, dumb thing like you ain't even worth the enormous lot I paid for you. Don't I wish every night that I had back that good hen and that red tablecloth in place of you?" He did not wait for Meg to guess the answer to this question. "I do," he said. "I wish it every night. That tablecloth was the color of blood. That hen could lay eggs like nobody's business." "I want to be a princess," said Meg. "I want to wear a crown." A crown, Uncle laughed. She wants to wear a crown. He laughed harder. He took the empty kettle and put it atop his head. Look at me, he said. I'm a king. See my crown? I'm a king just like I always wanted to be. I'm a king because I want to be one. He danced around the hut with the kettle on his head. He laughed until he cried. And then he stopped dancing and took the kettle from his head and looked at Meg and said, Do you want a good clout to the ear for such nonsense? No, thank you, Uncle, said Meg, but she got one anyway. Look here, said Uncle after the clout had been delivered. We will hear no more talk of princesses. Besides, who ever asked you what you wanted in this world, girl? The answer to that question, reader, as you well know, was absolutely no one. Okay, I gotta go soon. I'm meeting my mom for dinner. Chapter 28, To the Castle. Years passed. Meg spent them scrubbing the kettle and tending the sheep and cleaning the hut and collecting innumerable, uncountable, extremely painful clouts to the ear. In the evening, spring or winter, summer or fall, Meg stood in the field as the sun set, hoping that the royal family would pass before her again. Gore, I would like to see that little princess another time, wouldn't I? And her little pony, too, with his tippy-toed feet. This hope, this wish that she would see the princess again was lodged deep in Meg's heart. Lodged firmly right next to it was the hope that she, MIGGISH, could someday become a princess herself. The first of Meg's wishes was granted in a roundabout way when King Philip outlawed soup. The king's men were sent out to deliver the grim news and to collect from the people of the kingdom of Dor their kettles, their spoons, and their bowls. Reader, you know exactly how and why this law came to pass, so you would not be surprised as Uncle was when one Sunday a soldier of the king knocked on the door of the hut that Meg and Uncle and the sheep shared and announced that soup was against the law. How's that? Said Uncle. By order of King Philip, repeated the soldier, I am sent here to tell you that soup has been outlawed in the kingdom of Dor. You will, by order of the king, never again consume soup, nor will you think of it or talk about it, and I, as one of the king's loyal servants, am here to take away your spoons, your kettle, and your bowls. But that can't be, said Uncle. Nevertheless, it is. What'll we eat? And what'll we eat it with? Cake, suggested the soldier, with a fork. And wouldn't that be lovely, said Uncle, if we could afford to eat cake? The soldier shrugged. I am only doing my duty. Please hand over your spoons, your bowls, and your kettle. Uncle grabbed hold of his beard. He let go of his beard and grabbed the hair on his head. Unbelievable, he shouted, and I suppose the next king will be wanting my sheep and my girls, seeing those are my only possessions I have left. Do you own a girl? Said the soldier. I do, said Uncle, a worthless one, but still she is mine. Ah, said the soldier, that, I am afraid, is against the law, too. No human may own another in the kingdom of Dor. But I paid for her fair and square with a good laying hen and a handful of cigarettes and a blood-red tablecloth. No matter, said the soldier. It is against the law to own another. Now you will hand over to me, if you please, your spoons, your bowls, your kettles, and your girl. Or if you choose not to hand over these things, then you will come with me to be imprisoned in the castle dungeon. Which will it be? And that is how MIGGISH came to be sitting in a wagon full of soup-related items next to a soldier of the king. Do you have parents? Said the soldier. I will return you to them. Eh? A ma? Shouted the soldier. Dead, said Meg. Your pa? Shouted the soldier. I ain't seen him since he sold me. Right, I'll take you to the castle then. Gore, said Meg, looking around the wagon in confusion. You want me to paddle? To the... This poor kid. To the castle, shouted the soldier. I'll take you to the castle. The castle? Where the itty-bitty princess lives? That's right. Gore, said Meg, I aim to be a princess too some day. That's a fine dream, said the soldier. He clucked to the horse and tapped the reins, and they took off. I'm happy to be going, said Meg, putting a hand up and gently touching one of her cauliflower ears. Might just as well be happy, seeing it doesn't make a difference to anyone but you if you are or not, said the soldier. We will take you to the castle, and they will set you up fine. You no longer will be a slave. You will be a paid servant. Eh? Said Meg. You will be a servant, shouted the soldier. Not a slave. Gore, said Meg, satisfied. A servant I will be, not a slave. She was 12 years old. Her mother was dead. Her father had sold her. Her uncle, who wasn't her uncle at all, had clowned her until she was almost deaf, and she wanted more than anything in the world to be a little princess wearing a golden crown and riding a high-stepping white horse. Reader, do you think that it is a terrible thing to hope when there is really no reason to hope at all? Or is it, as the soldier said about happiness, something that you might just as well do, since in the end it really makes no difference to anyone but you? Okay, I'll do this last one and then I gotta go. Chapter 29. Start with the curtsy. Start with the kersey and finish with the thread. Let's Google that word. It's like curtsy without a T. curtsy. Oh, it's not real. Okay, well, that's why I don't know it, because it's not a word. Okay, chapter 29. Start with the curtsy, not a real word, and finish with the thread. Miggery Sow's luck continued. On her first day on the job as a castle servant, she was sent to deliver a spool of red thread to the princess. Mine, said the head of the serving staff, a dour woman named Louise. She is royalty, so you must make sure you curtsy. How's that? Shouted Mig. You must curtsy, shouted Louise. Gore, said Mig. Yes'm. Yes'm means yes, ma'am, and I know that a lot of people don't know that. I live here. People actually say yes'm, so I know about it, but I know people who don't. I don't know if this isn't like the South, but people still say it here. She took the spool of thread from Louise and made her way up the golden stairs to the princess's room, talking to herself as she went. Here I am, off to see the princess. Me, Miggery Sow, seeing the princess, up close and personal-like. And first off, I must curtsy because she is the royalty. At the door of the princess's room, Mig had a sudden crisis of confidence. She stood a moment, clutching the spool of thread and muttering to herself. Now, how did that go? She said. Give the princess the thread and then give her a curtsy? No, first the curtsy and then the thread. That's it. Gore, that's right, that's the order. Start with the curtsy and finish with the thread. She knocked at the princess's door. Enter, said the pea. Mig, hearing nothing, knocked again. Enter, said the pea, and Mig, still hearing nothing, knocked yet again. Maybe, she said to herself, the princess ain't to home. But then the door was flung wide, and there was the princess herself, staring right at Miggery Sow. Gore, said Mig, her mouth hanging open. Hello, said the pea. Are you the new serving maid? Have you brought me my thread? Curtsy I must, shouted Mig. She gathered her skirts, dropped the spool of thread, stuck a foot out, and stepped on the spool, rocked back and forth for what seemed... Sorry, I'm visual, so I'm thinking... Okay. Whew. Rocked back and forth for what seemed like quite a long time, both to the watching princess and the rocking Mig. And finally felt... This is awful. And finally fell to the floor Sorry, it's dumb. It says finally fell to the floor with... I can't even say it. With a MIGGISH thud. Oh, this poor little girl. A MIGGISH thud. This is a child. Whoopsie, said Miggery Sow. Let me try to read this again so that we can all process it together. The princess girl opens the door and is like, are you the new serving maid? Have you brought me my thread? And Mig yells, curtsy I must, which is amazing in itself. She gathered her skirts, dropped the spool of thread, stuck a foot out, and stepped on the spool, rocked back and forth for what seemed like quite a long time, both to the watching princess and the rocking Mig, and finally fell to the floor with a Miggish thud. Whoopsie, said Miggery Sow. Oh, it's beautiful. The pea could not help it. She laughed. That's all right, she said to Mig, shaking her head. It's the spirit of the thing that counts. How's that? Shouted Mig. It's the spirit of the thing that counts, shouted Pea. Thank you, miss, said Mig. She got slowly to her feet. She looked at the princess. She looked down at the floor. First the curtsy and then the thread, Mig muttered. Pardon, said the pig. Someone help me. I don't know what's going on. Oh my gosh. Pardon, said the pea. Gore, said Mig, the thread. She dropped to her hands and knees to locate the spool of thread. When she found it, she stood back up and offered it to Pea. I brought you your thread, didn't I? Oh, here's the picture of her flying through the air. Whoopsie, don't read the spoilers. Here she goes. Her little face, look at her face. Why does she look like Donald Trump? Oh my gosh. Okay. Lovely, said the princess as she took the thread from Mig. Thank you so much. I cannot seem to hold on to a spool of red thread. Every one I have disappears somehow. Are you making a thing? Asked Mig, squinting at the cloth in the pea's hand. I'm making a history of the world. My world, said the pea, in tapestry. See? Here is my father, the king, and he is playing the guitar because that is something he loves to do and does quite well. And here is my mother, the queen, and she is eating soup because she loved soup. Soup! Gore! That's against the law! Yes, said the princess, my father outlawed it because my mother died while she was eating it. Your ma's dead? Yes, said the pea, she died just last month. She bit her bottom lip to stop it from trembling. Ain't that the thing, said Meg. My ma is dead too. How old were you when she died? Bold was I, said Meg, taking a step away from the princess. I'm sorry, then. No, how old were you? Shouted the pea. Not but 6, said Meg. I'm sorry, said the princess. She gave Meg a quick look of deep sympathy. How old are you now? 12 years. So am I, said the princess. We're the same age. What is your name? She shouted. Miggery Sow, but most just calls me Mig. And I saw you once before, princess. You passed me by on a little white horse. On my birthday it was, and I was in the field with Uncle Sheep, and it was sunset time. Did I wave to you? Asked the princess. Eh? Did I wave? Shouted the pea. Yes, nodded Meg. But you didn't wave back, said the princess. I did, said Meg, only you didn't see. Some day I will sit on a little white horse and wear a crown and wave. Some day, said Meg, and she put a hand to touch her left ear, I will be a princess, too. Really? Said the pea. And she gave Meg another quick, deep look, but said nothing else. When Meg finally made her way back down the golden stairs, Louise was waiting for her. How long, she roared, did it take you to deliver a spool of thread to the princess? Too long? Guessed Meg. That's right, said Louise, and she gave Meg a good clap to the ear. You are not destined to be one of our star servants. That is already abundantly clear. No, ma'am, said Meg. That's all right, though, because I aim to be a princess. You? A princess? Don't make me laugh. This, reader, was a little joke on Louise's part, as she was not a person who laughed, ever. Not even at a notion as ridiculous as Miggery Sow becoming a princess. All right, I gotta go. I gotta meet my mom. I will talk to you later, and I love you, and I hope you have a great day. Bye! I'm like super scatterbrained right now. I'm sorry. I need to like take a breath. Okay, once. Miggery Sow called the man who purchased her uncle, as she said he must, and also as he said she must. Okay, let me. What is happening? Okay, a few years. Ah, said the soldier, that I am afraid is to the castle, shouted the soldier. That's hard to say. Oh, I got a message. I love you guys. Let's read my message. Oh, somebody said, you're seriously like the god of water parks content on Tumblr. Awesome work. Y'all are literally the nicest, most wonderful people. Oh my gosh. Like, who says stuff like that? That's so nice. Okay. Oh, that's so cute. Hold on, my mom. And we're back. And here's my mother, the queen. Is she in... I wish I could show you what my mom just sent, but I don't know how to do. You know those Bitmojis? She doesn't use them a lot, but she just sent me one, and it says, like, who's hungry? It looks very stressed out.